Backstage, Dwayne Johnson handed a producer a note. "I need to give him something," he said. From his jacket pocket, he pulled out a photograph. It was 22 years old. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Tuesday night, May 2024. Studio 6B at Rockefeller Center was buzzing with the usual pre-show energy. Audience filing in. Band doing sound check. Producers running through cue cards. Everything routine. Except for one thing. Dwayne, "The Rock" Johnson wasn't supposed to be there. His publicist had confirmed weeks ago, Dwayne was in London shooting a film. No way he could make it back for promotional appearances. The Tonight Show had booked a different guest for Tuesday's lineup. But at 4:47 p.m. Eastern Time, Dwayne Johnson walked through the stage door at 30 Rock. No assistant. No entourage. Just him, wearing a dark suit that looked like he'd slept in it on a plane, carrying a small leather bag. Stage manager Katie Chin nearly dropped her clipboard. "Dwayne? What are you?" "You're supposed to be in London?" "I was," Dwayne said simply. 14 hours ago. "Does Jimmy know you're here?" "Not yet." Dwayne shifted the bag on his shoulder. "Is he in his dressing room?" "Yeah, but we're an hour from taping in." "I know. I'm not here for the show." He paused. "Actually, I need about 3 minutes. On camera. Can you make that happen?" Katie stared at him. In 12 years of working television, she never had a global superstar show up unannounced asking for airtime. "Dwayne, I can't just..." "Please!" The word was quiet. Unrock-like. "It's important." Something in his voice made Katie pull out her phone. She texted executive producer Jim Bell. "Rock is here. Backstage. Says he needs 3 minutes on air. What do I do?" The response came back in seconds. "Get Jimmy. Now." Jimmy Fallon was in his dressing room running through monologue jokes when Katie knocked. "Jimmy? You have a visitor. If it's Questlove trying to prank me again." "It's Dwayne Johnson." Jimmy's head snapped up. "What?" "He's in London. He's in the hallway." 30 seconds later, Jimmy opened his dressing room door to find Dwayne standing there, that leather bag still on his shoulder, looking tired in a way Jimmy had never seen before. "Brother," Jimmy said, confused but smiling. "What are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be?" "Can we talk?" Dwayne interrupted. "Just for a minute?" They went into Jimmy's dressing room. Closed the door. For 2 minutes, no one knew what they discussed. When they emerged, Jimmy's eyes were red. Dwayne's jaw was tight. "We're doing this," Jimmy said to Katie. "After the monologue. 3 minutes. No interview setup. Just bring him out." An hour later, The Tonight Show went live. Jimmy did his monologue. The audience laughed at all the right moments. The Roots played. Everything normal. Then Jimmy walked to his desk, sat down, and looked directly into camera one. "Folks, we had a guest scheduled for this segment," Jimmy said, his voice different from his usual energetic tone. "But something happened today that I need to share with you." He paused. 14 hours ago, one of my closest friends was on a film set in London. He got on a plane. Flew back to New York. Came straight here. And he asked me for 3 minutes of airtime. The audience murmured, confused. "I've known Dwayne Johnson for over 20 years. Jimmy continued. "We've done this show together dozens of times. But tonight is different." He looked toward the curtain. "Please welcome Dwayne Johnson." The audience erupted. Dwayne walked out. No music, no fanfare, just walked out, and the applause slowly died when people saw his face. This wasn't movie star rock. This wasn't charismatic entertainer rock. This was something else. He didn't sit in the guest chair. He stood beside Jimmy's desk. "I'm not here to promote anything," Dwayne said to the audience. His voice filled the studio. "I'm here because 22 years ago, someone did something for me that changed my life. And I made him a promise. And tonight I'm keeping it. Jimmy's hand gripped the edge of his desk. Dwayne reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a photograph. Old. Edges worn. The kind of photo that's been carried around for years. He held it up to the camera briefly, just long enough for viewers at home to see two young men, maybe early 20s, standing outside what looked like a comedy club. One was clearly a young Jimmy Fallon. The other was a younger, much leaner Dwayne Johnson. 1998, Dwayne said, lowering the photo. I was nobody. Wrestling in small venues. Making $300 a match. Sleeping in my car between gigs. He looked at Jimmy. And this guy who was just starting on Saturday Night Live, who was grinding just as hard as I was, invited me to a comedy show in the village. The studio was dead silent. I didn't want to go, Dwayne continued. I was broke. I was embarrassed. I didn't belong in that world. But Jimmy showed up at my car, yeah, he found out I was living in my car, and he literally dragged me to that show. Jimmy wiped his eyes. The cameras caught it. Millions watching at home saw Jimmy Fallon, who'd interviewed presidents and rock stars without breaking down, crying at his own desk. After the show, Dwayne said, we sat on a curb outside. 2 a.m. New York City. Freezing cold. And I told Jimmy I didn't think I was going to make it. That maybe I should quit. Go back to Florida. Get a normal job. He paused. You know what he said? The audience leaned forward. 300 people holding their breath. He said, you're going to be the biggest star in the world. And when you are, you're going to come back to this spot, and we're going to take another picture. And you're going to remember that the guy who slept in his car made it. Dwayne's voice cracked. I laughed at him. I thought he was crazy. But he was serious. He pulled out this disposable camera and made some guy walking by take our photo right there. Corner of Bleecker and McDougal. He held up the photograph again. This photo. What the audience couldn't see, what only the cameras caught in close-up, was the back of the photograph. Written in faded ink. To the biggest star in the world. Don't forget. JF, November 1998. Jimmy made me promise something that night, Dwayne said. He made me promise that when I made it, if I made it, I'd come back to his show. Not to promote a movie. Not for publicity. But to say thank you. To acknowledge that somebody believed in me when I had nothing. He turned to look directly at Jimmy. Brother, I kept you waiting 22 years. But I'm here. And I need to say this in front of everyone. His voice strengthened. Everything I have, every opportunity, every success, every moment, started because you saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. You didn't just encourage me. You believed in me when belief was the only thing I needed. The audience exploded into applause. But Dwayne raised his hand. I'm not done. The applause died instantly. 3 months ago, Dwayne said, his voice quieter now, I got a call from my mom. She's getting older. She's been sick. And she said something that hit me hard. She said, baby, don't wait to tell people they matter. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Because perfect moments don't exist. You make them. He looked at the photograph in his hand. I was in London yesterday on set. And I kept thinking about this photo. About that promise. About how I've been on this show a dozen times and never said what needed to be said. So I told the director I had to leave. I got on a plane. And here I am. Dwayne stepped closer to Jimmy's desk. He placed the photograph carefully on the surface between them. This photo has been in my wallet for 22 years. Dwayne said. Every audition I bombed. Every role I didn't get. Every moment I wanted to quit. I'd look at this photo and remember, someone believed in you. Don't let him down. Jimmy stood up. He and Dwayne stood face to face. The cameras held on them. Neither man spoke for 5 full seconds, an eternity in live television. Then Dwayne pulled Jimmy into a hug. Not a celebrity hug. Not a photo op hug. A real embrace. Jimmy's shoulders shook. Dwayne's eyes closed. The audience rose to their feet. When they separated, Dwayne turned to the audience. I want everyone watching to understand something. Success isn't about talent. It's not about luck. It's about the people who believe in you before you have any reason to believe in yourself. He gestured to Jimmy. This man changed my life with one night. One conversation. One photograph. He didn't have to do it. He gained nothing from it. But he did it anyway because that's who he is. Dwayne reached into his other pocket. He pulled out something else, a small box. He opened it. Inside was a keychain. Simple. Metal. Engraved with coordinates. These are the exact coordinates of that corner, Dwayne said, holding it up. Bleecker and McDougal. Where we took that photo. Where my life changed. He handed it to Jimmy. I had this made because I want you to remember something too. You changed my life. But you've changed thousands of lives. Everyone you've encouraged. Everyone you've believed in. Everyone who sat in this chair and felt seen. Jimmy took the keychain with shaking hands. Dwayne, You don't have to say anything, Dwayne interrupted gently. Just keep doing what you do. Keep seeing people. Keep believing. Because that's your gift. The cameras pulled back to a wide shot. The photograph on the desk. The keychain in Jimmy's hand. Two men standing on a stage, connected by a promise kept after 22 years. Dwayne looked at the audience one more time. I flew back for 3 minutes to say thank you. That's it. That's the whole reason. Because gratitude can't wait. And the people who change our lives need to know they did. He turned and walked off stage. No music. No fanfare. Just walked away. Jimmy stood at his desk, holding that keychain, staring at the photograph. The audience was still standing, still applauding. Some crying. Most stunned. Jimmy looked into camera one. We're going to take a break, he said, his voice barely steady. And when we come back, honestly, I have no idea what we're going to do. Because nothing after this is going to make sense. The show cut to commercial. But backstage, something happened that the cameras didn't catch. Dwayne didn't leave. He sat in the green room and waited. When the show ended an hour later, Jimmy came backstage. They sat together, not talking much, just two guys who'd known each other for over 2 decades, processing what had just happened. Why today? Jimmy finally asked. Why now? Dwayne was quiet for a moment. Because I almost didn't. I almost convinced myself it could wait. Next month. Next year. Whenever. He looked at Jimmy. And then I realized, that's how we lose people. That's how moments pass. We convince ourselves there's always tomorrow. He pulled out his phone. Showed Jimmy a text from his mother, timestamped 3 days earlier. Tell him, baby. Tell him what he means. Don't wait. Jimmy read it. Nodded. Your mom's right. She usually is. They sat in silence for another minute. Then Jimmy said, That photograph. You really carried it for 22 years? Every single day. Why didn't you ever tell me? Dwayne smiled. His real smile, not his movie star smile. Because it wasn't about you knowing. It was about me remembering. Every time I wanted to quit or got too big for my own good, I'd look at that photo and think, don't forget the guy who believed in you when you were nobody. If this story moved you, subscribe and share it. Because stories like this deserve to be heard. 3 weeks later, Dwayne posted something on social media. Just a photograph. And one sentence. Promises kept. Gratitude expressed. 22 years later, exactly as planned. The post went viral. Millions of shares. Thousands of comments from people sharing their own stories of the person who believed in them first. But the real ending happened quietly. 2 months later, Jimmy and Dwayne went back to that corner. Bleecker and McDougal. 2 a.m., just like before. They stood in the exact same spot where a struggling comedian and a broke wrestler had sat on a curb in 1998. They didn't take another photo. They didn't need to. You changed my life, Dwayne said. You gave mine meaning, Jimmy replied. Sometimes the biggest moments happen when nobody's watching. Sometimes gratitude is just two people standing on a street corner, remembering who they were before the world knew their names. The photograph still sits on Jimmy's desk, right next to the keychain. And Dwayne still carries a copy in his wallet. Always.